Welcome to episode 300 of the Working Fans Podcast. Dave, it has been a long road. I don't know if I thought we'd make it to 300, but when we hit these milestones, it's always fun.
That's right, baby. We've been through a pandemic. We've been through it all, man. We went through
we had parents alive when this started.
We had someone, yeah. My dad departed years ago, but I had a mom. Joe had a dad.
My mom's hanging on, but we're getting off the rails already. But we got a power-packed episode for you. And please, if you enjoy what you see here, hit that subscribe button. The majority of people that watch us aren't subscribed, and it would mean the world if you could subscribe. And we're going to start off with a big announcement this week. We found out about it this week. Wrestling is coming back to Jewett City. This is a very local thing. So if you're in Connecticut, if you're in the Jewett City area and watch us, please make some time. June 20th, Outcast Wrestling Revolution is putting on a show in the park in Jewett City. You see there's going to be water slides, obstacle courses, bounce houses, but the main event, Outcast Wrestling Revolution, 6 to 8:30 in the park. I'm excited for this, Dave, because it's not too often wrestling comes to Jewett City. The last time it came here, we were able to film it. We put that out as the Griswold Grade get-together. The dog's going crazy about it.
Dogs are out, baby. Hoo, hoo, hoo.
Who let the dogs out? Outcast Wrestling Revolution let the dogs out. Dave, I can't wait to go to this show. What's your level of excitement for this show?
I am always excited when we got wrestling locally around Jewett City. Like you said, it doesn't happen too often, so always very cool. We'll be trying to do our best to promote it on here, and hey, maybe we'll be there that day. I can almost guarantee we will probably be there that day. So either way, I'm excited, though. And like you said, so many other cool stuff happening here, too. Bounce House, come on.
Yeah, keep an eye on not only the Working Fans Podcast channel, keep an eye on Outcast Wrestling Revolution's channel. Keep an eye out on the Griswold Park and Rec page on Facebook. This is a great event. We can't wait for it. We also can't wait to get into this week's show because there's so much to talk about. We had 3 big shows last weekend, a lot of wrestling to watch, and I'm going to be honest, I bought Double or Nothing. It wasn't available domestically on Fight until the next day, but we went through some ways and means, got it. I have not yet watched it. Dave, what was your overall feeling of the show? Because I watched the first 2 matches, I'll say. I thought the Mercedes match was a great match to kick it off with.
Yeah, great pay-per-view. It's the same thing as always. It's like beating a dead horse here. But, I mean, no offense, Hangman. But it's just like, it's long. It's too long a show, but it's a good show. It was a great show. And if you watch it like I did and you broke it up, like I made sure to avoid spoilers and watch the next day, it was excellent, but it's tough watching it all in one shot, I imagine. There was a pre-show. Don't even want to go into this too much, but I know Anna Jay and Harley Cameron beat Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford. I only know there was a highlight of this match where Harley Cameron, I believe, shoved Penelope Ford's face into Anna Jay's butt. So that happened on the pre-show.
Yeah, man, I like it.
What? Mercedes and Jamie Hayter, excellent match. These Owen Hart Cup matches were awesome. And we called that one. We said Mercedes would probably win, and that'd be the bigger match for Tony. Just like I said, I'm not going to go through all these matches up and down the card, but Okada and Speedball
prediction on that main event, right?
Okada and Bailey was a great match. I think we both picked Will Ospreay as we thought it would be his time, but in the end, Hangman Page. I think this was one of those ones where I have to give it to AEW. The way this was built, you felt like either guy could win. And in the end, it was Hangman Page. He's the star of the show. He's going on to challenge Jon Moxley for the title. That was also a fantastic match. If there's one other match I really feel like we have to make mention of here, though, it's the Anarchy in the arena match. Absolutely fantastic. They had some music spots again where they had drowning pools, bodies hit the floor playing during this. The Pointer Sisters were playing at one point. It was a spectacle. It was wild. And Anarchy in the Arena has low-key become one of my favorite matches every year. Like Money in the Bank, like the Royal Rumble. Anarchy in the Arena is AEW's kind of special attraction that I've really become to enjoy now.
Yeah, when I was talking to John White at work about this, I kind of asked him, because we were talking about it. It was a good show. He wasn't sure if he was going to buy it. And I was like, well, if you were going to buy it, like, what is the one match that was going to sell you on that? And he's like, oh, it's Anarchy in the Arena because you got all your big stars in there.
Right.
You mentioned Okada and Mike Bailey. That's a match I want to see. That's got to be a great match. But I feel like Anarchy in the Arena was kind of the centerpiece of this and made me the most interested in this.
Yeah, no doubt. It was that Anarchy in the Arena and the 2 Owen Hart Cup finals is what made this show.
Yeah, well, I'm going to go back and watch this because I can't wait. And hopefully I'll be able to, because I was listening to one of our favorite wrestling podcasts, Post Wrestling, and they talked about how Triller TV is in trouble. I guess they haven't made some filings with the SEC. Their stock is selling for less than $1 a share. And I was kind of sad to hear that because especially in the pro wrestling space over the last, what would you say, 5 years, that Triller TV, before that Fight TV, was a big part of our wrestling watching that we were excited about.
It's really big for independents, I would say, right? Like how many independents use Triller as like their platform. So I think if something happens to Triller TV, that will be damaging and unfortunate for a lot of independent wrestling. You know, WWE and AEW are going to be fine, obviously. I'd say even Impact, with the association with WWE will be fine. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of companies that probably struggle with this. GCW, which has done awesome business, but most of their stuff is on Triller TV, right?
Yeah, if Triller TV were to go away, I would be very sad about that. GCW has really, they've done the best on it. That's where I've caught all of their shows. You're able to catch Pro Wrestling Revolver. You might notice my mic quality sounds a little bit better now. I changed the settings here. But yeah, back to Triller TV. I hope they hang on. I hope something can work out because there's way too many streaming services as it is. Mm-hmm. And if Triller TV went away, I feel like a lot of these companies would be forced to go elsewhere. And how many would just lose total visibility with this?
Right. How many would get picked up? Sure. Not everybody's going to give all of these independents the same platform. You know what I mean? At least not.
No, High Spots might pick up somebody. Independent Wrestling TV might pick up somebody, but it's not going to be like that overall.
Yeah, I agree. It would be harmful, I believe. So hopefully they could work it out.
Yeah, I certainly hope they stay around. We have an interesting comparison this week because I was playing WWE 2K25 and Bruno Sammartino was one of the people that came up in this Towers mode that I play. And I was like, I want to find a good match against Bruno because you have a bunch of different cards you can use. And I had Femi, and I just thought about two big powerhouses from two different eras. I wasn't sure if we had ever done this comparison. Nope. Dave said we hadn't. He said, let's bring it out for episode 300. And the people went crazy. So if you had to choose between a bigger powerhouse wrestler, who do you got, Dave? Is it Bruno Sammartino? Is it Femi?
Well, if we're talking about bigger powerhouse wrestler, listen, Bruno Sammartino back in the day, different type physique, right? This guy, he was as strong as could be, right? There's stories about him wrestling like an ape or a gorilla in the zoo or something, choking him. Like, Bruno has just got all these legendary stories of a no-nonsense guy. But you got to remember that was back in the day. This is a modern era, a lot of different training techniques. Like if we're talking powerhouse wrestlers, I'd put my money on Oba Femi as far as the stronger and the more explosive. Now, who sold more tickets? Who's a bigger legend? It's not even close. It's Bruno Sammartino. But Oba has got a great, great future, and that's why this is a fun comparison. But yeah, if we're talking about just power, sheer power, I'm going with the NXT ruler, baby. Oba Femi all day.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a few Bruno matches. He definitely, for the wrestlers of his day, he could definitely power him around.
Oh, yeah.
But it's just a different setup in wrestling now. And him versus Oba, it would be that great like powerhouse versus powerhouse match. This would be one of those big world title matches that they'd put on, that they'd get a lot of excitement behind. That would be great to see. Forced to pick, I feel like I got to go Oba Femi as well. I mean, Bruno's good, but I feel like we've seen more Oba than we have of Bruno. And obviously, you'll pick the wrestler that you're more familiar with. Ask our grandparents, ask our aunts and uncles. They might have to divert to Bruno. But it's all a matter of who you watched. And we pre-recorded our big holiday episode last week. So we were not able, we have to catch up on Dark Side of the Ring. Obviously, it ended this week. But the week before, Dark Side of the Ring, Daffney.
Yeah.
I've been hearing a lot of people say they thought this was one of the best episodes they did. I wasn't familiar with Daffney going in, so I was definitely interested in this. What were your thoughts on it?
Sad. Absolutely, probably one of the sadder episodes I've seen. I knew about Daffney in WCW. I remember her a little bit in TNA, but I wasn't as familiar because I was in and out of TNA at that time with some of her injuries and some of her mental health struggles. And yeah, it's just really sad to see. There's a point where they're talking about how she had this loyal group of hardcore fans that follow her everywhere. And because of the pills she was on, for different medication, she started to put on weight and people started making fun of her appearance. And, she felt like they turned on her. And
her mental health as well.
What's that?
The medicine she was taking was for mental health as well. And
So it was really just, you really got the sense that she just felt isolated. And, hearing from her father, who's still alive, and her brother in the episode, and then all these people like Caleb Conley, who used to date her, Mick Foley, you just really got the sense that like everybody loved her. And it's just is a very, very sad story. It's an interesting story. It's probably a good story, like in a way of, a cautionary tale, and people should, maybe watch this, especially if you know anybody dealing with mental health struggles. But yeah, for me, it was a tough watch.
Yeah, there's so many interesting facets to it. You not only have the mental health aspect of it, you have a woman in pro wrestling who's dealing with mental health issues. And then on top of it, the injury she got in TNA. It was interesting hearing from Mick Foley about that. This was definitely one of the darker ones, especially when you see how genuinely adored she was in the wrestling world. They had that great story of her training that girl who got injured to learn how to wrestle and then put her over in a match. So you got to see the good side of her. But then you also got to see something we hear about a lot in wrestling, where your wrestling character is one thing. And then sometimes, not that it bleeds over into your personal life, but your wrestling character can make your personal life difficult in ways. And the way she really struggled with that. And the end of the episode, super sad with everything happening on Instagram. And it's especially tough if you know somebody too that's done that to themselves, because in the aftermath of it, you're always left wondering, like, is there more you could do? You're convinced there's more you could do. And sometimes it's something going on with that person. And it's an interesting discussion. I don't know what to say. It really was a sad episode. It really hit home. And it one of the best Dark Side of the Rings. And it went from Daffney to last week to Muhammad Hossan this week. And it was interesting. This is 2 subjects back to back I didn't know a ton about. What was your takeaway from this? I thought it was a good episode to end the season with, I thought.
It was interesting. Muhammad Hossan, I had forgotten it when he first came in that I remember this, that, they were kind of preying off the stereotypes of how Arab Americans were treated. And I remember thinking like, well, is he going to be a good guy or a bad guy? Because I don't feel like he's really that much of a bad guy at the time. But, I knew the tradition of wrestling, especially in that era. And then sure enough, they made him more of a heel when he showed up. And I thought, oh, okay. And then as time went on, they went more and more darker. And, of course, then the terrorist acts in London happened. And, his career was gone after that. But I thought it was fascinating to hear, like Jim Cornette basically come out and say that, hey, they should have, someone should have stepped up to Vince and said, hey, you owe this guy. You basically ruined his career. Let's take care of him, And he said nobody really wanted to do that. And I thought it was interesting that at the same time, too, one of those stories they shared, like one of the side stories they shared in the episode was about Wrestler's Court and how I can't remember, Joe, who they said, but somebody had told him to question Eddie Guerrero about using the camel clutch.
Kurt Angle.
It was Kurt Angle. Yeah, I thought that was funny. Kurt of all people. And Eddie said, well, my father invented the hold. And so, right away he knew like, oh, man, I should have said nothing. But, of course, Eddie, ends up, saying it's all good in the end after Wrestler's Court, and he buys alcohol for everybody. And they do all that tradition. But, I thought it was interesting. And then, again, diving a little bit into mental health, that after he got let go and his career was basically over, he struggled. And, he thought about suicide. But here's on the opposite end, a man who, went back to school, had a nighttime job at UPS. As he said, it was humbling. And now here he is, I believe, he's a principal in a school. And he's also doing some other stuff, too. Do you remember?
I know he's involved in education, and that's huge because if you think about it, he had such a quick rise in the WWE, and then he got put into this character that was controversial for the time. And one thing I thought that was interesting is you portray these characters. Sometimes they're not who you are, but then you're out and about. And he was traveling with Daivari, who he saw Daivari going through some of the prejudices that he had described in promos. He talked about being confronted by young Arab people who didn't like his portrayal. And sometimes you forget that this thing that you do on TV, people find representative and they might not enjoy it. So it was interesting to see that part of it as well. But it was good to see him come out on the other side of it. It's a shame that he wasn't able to do more in wrestling after that. Like some guys, you get a bad gimmick and you can get repackaged, or you can somehow parlay it into something else. And instead, he was just let go. And, you hear about the bitterness he had for wrestling for a while. It's sad that this didn't go more. Like, it was definitely of the times, but when you think about who had control of it, Vince McMahon, it's bound to go off the rails there.
Yeah, and just the timing of everything, too, and the fact that this guy was so associated with his gimmick that I guess they felt like they couldn't do something else with him, but it just definitely feels like he just got a raw deal.
Yeah, and while it was hard to see that there was no life after wrestling as much for Daffney, it's good to see that Mark Kapani, Muhammad Hossan, was able to do something else. And overall, what did you think of this season of Dark Side of the Ring? I really liked it. I'm trying to think if it was one of the best, though.
Yeah, it was one of the better seasons, I would say. It's not, we had the Chris Benoit and the Brian Pillman episodes early on, so it's kind of hard to compete with those. But I mean, this is definitely, we had some great episodes this year. Eddie Gilbert, I really enjoyed. I mean, but then again, a lot of it was maybe just personal for me, right? I just really enjoyed Eddie, and yeah, I mean, I have to go back and look at all of them. But yeah, I thought this was one of those episodes. Like, oh, the Sheik is the other one that really stood out.
Sheik was good. Hell in a Cell was better than expected. We thought that we weren't going to hear much new, and they definitely gave a different spin on that.
Yeah.
But overall, Dark Side of the Ring season 6 was amazing. I hope they do season 7. I hope they bring back Tales from the Territories. That was a show I really enjoyed. And we will see what else they have in store for us. But what else we have in store for you? NXT Battleground was last Sunday, same night as Double or Nothing. I actually watched the show live because I was very excited for one match in particular on this. But I thought overall, the show was great. NXT is really killing it right now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Sol Ruka kept her North American Championship against Kalani Jordan. She's been, on fire lately. Hank Tank and Briggs beat Jensen, Nico Vance, and Sean Spears. And what's his name made his return at the end of that match, too? Briggs' partner from Japan. Amura?
Yeah, I wish I knew his name.
Yeah. Briggs loves him. I think they're getting married or something, but no,
yeah, this was like somebody at work was saying like this was a weird match to have on there, but you had, Briggs versus Jensen, you had the big return at the end. It was a reason to get the tag team champs on the show. It was a good match to have on there. It didn't let down.
No, actually, I was listening to Wrestling Observer the other day, and they were saying that it almost looks like Briggs is in love with him, and they should maybe do like a wedding angle or something like that and just have fun with it. But yeah, I don't think that's the direction they're going. I wish I could remember his name, though. Anamura or something like that. I can't remember, but I've enjoyed his work. But NXT, there's so many people here. Shannon Stacks Lorenzo defeated Tony D'Angelo. Stephanie Vercur defeated Jordan Grace.
Which was interesting given what happened Tuesday.
Right. And we can say that too, because, Vercur is going to drop the title to JC Jane. And now the rumor is that Jordan Grace is going to SmackDown and Stephanie Vercur is going to go to Raw. And that's interesting because obviously Roxanne and Julia already left. And it looks like there's women that we all loved in NXT. Now they were taking the division and kind of just going to have to start over again at this point, huh?
Yeah, I mean, luckily the NXT women's division is deep enough that you could lose like 3-4 women and still be stacked. I was surprised to see Jordan Grace not take that title and then to see JC Jane take it later. It makes sense if they're both moving up, but Jordan Grace has to be a women's champion at some point, right? I thought she was going to get some time in NXT with that, honestly.
I mean, I don't know how many people are going to be in this women's Money in the Bank, but I wouldn't be surprised if both these women somehow end up in this Money in the Bank match still. We already have Julia and Roxanne Perez in there with Rhea Ripley. And, I don't know. I think they're going to get showcased well. I think there's a reason why this particular crop of women got called up to the main roster rather quickly. Also, obviously, Oba Femi defeated Miles Bourne. I thought good showcase for Miles Bourne. He didn't win, but I thought they really elevated him. But the big story coming out of this, Trick Williams is your new TNA heavyweight champion. I predicted this last week, and I just felt that Trick had a lot of momentum. And also the way they were setting this up, like Joe Henry seemed to be getting the better of him a lot. Even on the TNA pay-per-view where Trick was involved, week before in NXT, I thought, this is interesting. And now, judging by NXT, and we can talk about this past week, it looks like, let's get to it. Trick Williams, baby, the new TNA champion. And how do we feel about this? I'll tell you how I feel. John will cut you off. I'll tell you how I feel. I feel what? I like it. Yeah,
man. This is great. It's probably like the one thing he had left to do in NXT because he had that NXT championship. He is such a major featured player on this show. He's been such a fixture. Now he's TNA champion.
Yes.
But kind of the big question I have is, where is Trick going to go with that TNA championship?
I think Mike Santana is going to get it done. I mean, maybe not. Maybe it's not, long term. Maybe it's a short term thing with Santana and Trick, but I'm interested in it. Mike Santana beat Tavion Heights this week on NXT. Mike Santana was on the NXT Battleground show just in an interview. But I thought they've put a great spotlight on Mike Santana. TNA has done an excellent job of building him up, and now seeing NXT and seeing him showcased there, which is another great reason to love this NXT TNA relationship. Seeing somebody like Mike Santana on there. But yeah, I think if it's not Santana, it's going to be somebody else. But Trick is here to, I think, help elevate the brand TNA right now, right? Because he's a hot commodity in NXT, and I think he'll put focus on that. And then whoever beats Trick, hopefully we'll get a big rub that way, is probably the TNA savior. I don't think that's going to be Joe Henry. My hunch is Joe Henry might not be done with TNA yet, but he's going to probably be on his way out, and I would expect him to be possibly skip over NXT and go right to Raw or SmackDown.
Yeah, it's great to see Santana featured, especially popping up on NXT. Like, if Santana ever made his way over to NXT, we've been watching him for a while. He'd be that good fit.
Yeah.
Especially since he's bulked up as of late and really become a good single superstar. So I'm excited to see whatever happens. I'd like to say that Santana would be that next champion. And this was just another really good show for Memorial Day weekend. They really loaded it up. And we forgot to preview this last week because there was so much going on, especially for us working the Memorial Day, getting ready for it. But we had another Saturday night's main event.
Yes, we did.
And between Battleground and Saturday night's main event, some big announcements. The Worlds Collide show is going to be on WWE's YouTube next weekend. I can't wait for that event.
Yeah, I like that event. That's shaping up. We'll preview it next week. But yeah, I already know. I mean, we got Chad Gable versus Eva Kingo, which apparently is going to be for the AAA Mega Championship, which Kingo's not won yet. Alberto Patron. We'll see what happens there. I think there's a show happening this Saturday, I think, in Mexico somewhere. So we'll see what happens. Plans do change, though. I know that there's going to be an awesome match for the North American title. Ethan Page just won that this past week on NXT, and he's defending against Ray Phoenix, Laredo Kid, and Javon Evans. We'll talk about that next week. But yeah, a lot of great announcements. But let's talk about this show a little bit here. Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker opened the show against CM Punk and Sami Zayn. And yes, Rollins and Breaker get the win. But the big story here is Big Bronson Reed returns, helps them get the win, and now he's joined Seth Rollins' stable. We got Seth Rollins has managed by Paul Heyman, now has Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed as his two heavy hitters working for him. It's a good fit, I think.
It's a great fit. Probably something that wouldn't have happened under McMahon with the name Braun and Bronson being so close. But I love having those two big powerhouses. It was a great return. That match was a great way to kick off this event.
Yeah. Cena beat R-Truth. Zelina Vega beat Chelsea Green. The main event, Jey Uso had defeated Logan Paul. John Cena had gotten involved. Cody Rhodes had gotten involved. He returned. That set up Cody. And so that's going to be Jey Uso and Cody versus Cena and Logan Paul. Looks like that's been added to Money in the Bank. And really right before that, we had a cage match too with Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre. Priest won by exiting the cage. And at the beginning of this show, Jesse Ventura had noted that this cage, there's going to be a winner inside the ring. This is going to happen inside the ring. And it did not. And Jesse seemed very irate. And he says, what kind of win is that? He says, when do you climb after the cage? And, of course, the internet has ripped Jesse apart for this, noting that there was cage matches on Saturday nights because Jesse also said they would have had a cage match in the past. NBC would have allowed it, and they did. Obviously, Hogan versus Mr. Wonderful, Hogan and Boss Man, one you recently watched, Joe. And yes, and both times I believe Hogan won by escaping the cage. So,
and then Jesse also talked about being I don't know if he said the only commentator, but he was definitely the first one to go from the commentary table to the ring. And then realizing Pat McAfee did, he had to kind of accommodate for that. Had no idea that Michael Cole had as well.
He also asked if Logan Paul was going to take a dive, or he said if Mike Tyson's going to take a dive here. So he made a reference to like Mike Tyson, almost referencing the wrong Paul brother too. That was Jake Paul that was involved in that as well.
Before we get deeper into Jesse, though, there was a big announcement on this Saturday night's main event that changes what we thought about the upcoming WWE Women's Revolution pay-per-view.
Oh, yes. So that's going to be, was it Atlanta?
Atlanta.
Yeah. So we hoped there was going to be, there was a rumor it was going to be right here at Mohegan Sun, Uncasville, Connecticut. We are not going to get that show, sadly. I am happy that the Women's Evolution show is coming back. I think it's a great idea. And, hey, go back a couple segments when we talked about Jordan Grace, right? Stephanie Vakura now probably coming up. Julia, Roxanne Perez. We already got Ripley, Io Sky, Charlotte, Tiffany Stratton, so many, Becky Lynch, so many talented women. We have a women's U.S. title, a women's Intercontinental title. It is a great time to bring this Evolution pay-per-view
Bring back a legend as well.
What's that?
You could even bring back a legend as well.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, Trish Stratus, anybody. I mean, and, Vince McMahon's gone. So this is a perfect time to bring this event back. I just selfishly wish we had gotten it in Connecticut.
Now, what's the other event that weekend? Because it's running along with another event in Atlanta, and that's going right up against All Out.
So there's
I'm trying to remember the name of the event as well.
Is it NXT?
Ooh, that's a good question. We should have Googled this before. You guys have been watching us for 300 episodes. Sometimes we just fly by the seat of our pants on this show.
Yeah.
Either way, Saturday night's main event had a lot of nice surprises. I was surprised by this, but a part of me isn't because having the big women's show here in Connecticut, it would have been cool, but it was kind of like it was going to happen maybe July 5th. But now I want to say this is July 12th or 13th, right up against All Out. So that makes
Great
a
American
lot more
Bash.
sense.
Great American Bash will be July 12th in Atlanta, Georgia.
There it is. So yeah, I believe that is an NXT event.
It is, yeah.
So a lot to look forward to coming up in the summer, but we talked about it earlier, and it kind of led to a question I had. Is Jesse Ventura doing more harm than good on these Saturday night main events now?
Man, I don't know. I got to be honest with you. I maybe, but I just thought he was funny. To me, he's entertaining still, and he brings something. I get. But maybe it's different, right? Now he's kind of funny, like grandpa says some wild shit at the dinner table, and it's like, that's his granddad. He's cool. He's got some great stories and stuff. He's going to say a few things that are wrong, and we're just going to ignore it. And, he's going to get some of his dates wrong, and that's okay. We love granddad. But I don't know if everybody else feels that way. Some are like, he's ruining the show. And maybe time has just passed Jesse by. Personally, I said this before. I'll say it again. Right here, this photo right here with Joe Tessitore. Maybe that's where Jesse should be. Maybe we don't need to bring Jesse out to commentate one match. Maybe just have Jesse help host with Joe Tessitore, and this is a great spot for him. Maybe that's the compromise.
It's good hearing his voice on this. It's whenever you have him talk about modern wrestling, it's like sometimes he seems to nail it, and then other times, it's obvious that he hasn't watched.
Yeah. I think his instincts are still good. He just doesn't watch the product.
Yeah. I'd say overall, put him in these bumper segments where you can have him talking. I don't think he necessarily needs to get in on a match. I say give him one more show And if he's dropping the ball on that show, maybe it's not time for it anymore. But definitely some interesting flubs. But it's Jesse Ventura Saturday night's main event. You couldn't ask for much more. And that was episode 300. We did it again, guys. It's been so much fun doing this show for the last 400 episodes. The podcast has brought a lot. We've had a lot of interesting opportunities come our way. And before we go, I want to bring it up one more time. June 20th, WrestleTopia, Outlaw Wrestling Revolution is coming back to Jewett City. This is huge. If you went to the Griswold Great Get-Together and saw the last time they had wrestling in Jewett City, this is going to be I want to say so much more fun because you're going to have water slides, obstacle courses, other things going on before the wrestling. There's going to be music there. But the biggest attraction, 6 to 8:30, Outlaw Wrestling Revolution is putting on a show at the field, Griswold Veterans Memorial Park in Jewett City. Dave, I got to ask again, level of excitement for the show. How you feeling about it?
I'm through the roof, man. 1 to 10. I'm a 10 right now, guys. I love the fact that we're getting wrestling in Jewett City. We don't usually get wrestling in Jewett City. Like you said, it was a couple years ago. And before that, it was a couple years before that. So we're starved. We're like those, we're the smaller version of like those international crowds at WWE. We're not getting it all the time. So we want it, Bring us wrestling now.
We can't wait for it. So if you're in the Connecticut area, if you watch our podcast, if you're friends of ours, please come down to the show. Let's make it a big event. Let's show Outlaw Wrestling Revolution why Jewett City's the place to be. And you could probably hear the dogs barking. He's so excited about that. Let's play some things we're excited about. And guys, thank you for joining us for 300 episodes. And if you like what you saw, hit that subscribe button.
Good night, everybody.
Author Ray Lopez presents Lockup, professional wrestling in our world. Lockup dives headfirst into the colorful world of professional wrestling. Explore the iconic characters, careers, matches, history, and families, and delve into the bizarre and fascinating entwining of professional wrestling and film, television, football, politics, gender, and race. Pre-orders are available now on Amazon.com or at MascotBooks.com. This is the perfect gift for the wrestling fan in your life. Pick up a copy today on Amazon.com or at MascotBooks.com.
Hey, all you got young wrestling fans out there, listen, Old Black Bart has got a book. It's called Wrestle. Right there. It's got some that good stories in there about some that good wrestlers.
Read stories of Dusty Rhodes, the Von Erichs, Scott Casey, Sergeant Slaughter, Roddy Piper, Mr. Fuji, Ron Bass, Bruiser Brody, Mike Davis, the Grappler, and many others.
And I guarantee you one thing, that it'll be the best dadgum read you've had in a long time.
Get your book today at Russellville.com or on Amazon. Russellville, it's where wrestling lives.
Hey fans, it's the man they call Dave with producer Joe. And you probably know us as the commentary team for New Heights Pro Wrestling. But when we're not doing that, we got a podcast.
That is the Working Fans Podcast, where we talk pro wrestling, comedy, MMA, and so much more.
And tell them about that signature segment.
Oh, you talk about the 531?
You know I am.
That is a homegrown creation that has been our namesake. And if you want to know our namesake, we got Chevy, AJ Strange Brew, as well as the two of us.
And why don't you go to our channel, like, subscribe, show us some love.
Rate, review, all of it.
Read about the Northern Wrestling Federation in the book presented by Russellville.com, The Pro Wrestling Vault, Volume 2. Hear the story of Roger Ruffin, the man who trained Carl Anderson, the Monster Abyss, Jordan Clearwater, Chris Harrison, Jillian Hall.
Plus 45 other short stories, including Jazz, Bobby Eaton, Kamala, Thunder Rosa, Mario Mancini, Scott Casey, PJ Black, Kerry Morton, Sal Renaro, Jeremiah Plunkett, Colby Carino, Bam Bam Malone, and many others.
Get your book today at Russellville.com. Russellville. It's where wrestling lives.